There comes a time in everyone's life when you realize not everyone who smiles at you stands beside you when the storm hits. You learn that friendship, while beautiful, cannot always carry you through the battles that define your destiny. The truth is harsh, but freeing. You can't rely on friends to build your life for you. You have to rely on yourself. Relying on yourself doesn't mean isolating yourself from the world. It means mastering your own foundation so that no matter who walks in or out of your life, you remain unshaken. The strongest people are not the ones who had the most friends cheering them on. They are the ones who learned to keep going when no one believed in them. When you depend too much on others for motivation, validation, or direction, you give away your power. Friends can encourage you, yes, but they can't fight your battles, they can't feel your pain, and they can't live your purpose. That's your job. Life is a test that only you can take. Others may walk beside you for a while, but no one can walk for you. It's easy to blame others when life gets tough, to say, they weren't there for me, or they changed. But maybe the truth is, life was teaching you self-reliance. Maybe you were meant to lose certain people so you could find yourself. Pain and loneliness have a strange way of shaping strength. They force you to become your own support system, your own voice of reason, your own best friend. When you start relying on yourself, something powerful happens. You stop waiting for people to save you. You stop expecting loyalty from those who were only meant to teach you lessons. You realize that your dreams, your goals, and your happiness belong to you, and no one can take that away unless you hand it over. Build yourself so solid that when life shakes you, you don't crumble. Learn to comfort yourself when no one else does. Learn to clap for yourself even when the world is silent. That's not arrogance. That's growth. The greatest victories often come from those who learn to stand alone. Don't get me wrong, friends can be blessings, but they are not your foundation. If your confidence depends on their approval, it will collapse the moment they turn their back. Real confidence is born when you trust your own judgment, your own decisions, your own path. So, if you're walking alone right now, don't be discouraged. That loneliness is building your character. That silence is sharpening your focus. That solitude is strengthening your soul. You're not losing people, you're finding yourself. The world respects those who rely on themselves because they move differently. They're not desperate for attention, not begging for help, not afraid of being alone. They are unshakable, unbreakable, unstoppable. Remember this, the moment you decide to rely on yourself, you take back control of your life. You stop waiting and start creating. You stop seeking and start becoming. You stop needing and start leading. So stand tall, be your own anchor, be your own hero. Because in the end, it's not the crowd that defines your success. It's the courage to believe in yourself when no one else does. Solitude builds character and independence in ways that nothing else can. When you are alone, you meet the rawest version of yourself, the one without masks, without distractions, without the noise of other people's opinions. It's in that quiet space that true growth begins. Many people fear being alone because they associate it with emptiness or rejection. But solitude is not loneliness, it is self-discovery. It's the sacred time when you learn who you truly are, what you value, and what you're capable of. In solitude, you realize that you are your own greatest source of strength. You learn to stop seeking approval from others and start trusting your own instincts. When the world goes silent, your inner voice becomes louder. That voice guides you, challenges you, and reminds you of your worth. It's easy to depend on friends for reassurance or encouragement. But when you learn to rely on yourself, you stop needing validation, you create it. You stop chasing support, you become it. Independence is not built when life is easy. It's built in those moments when you have no one to lean on but yourself. When you face pain, failure, or confusion alone, you discover how resilient you truly are. You learn how to think for yourself, make decisions on your own, and trust your judgment. Every obstacle becomes a lesson, every setback a teacher, and every quiet night a step toward your transformation. Solitude teaches you that you don't need constant company to feel complete. You just need connection with yourself. Those who fear solitude often fear their own reflection, the truth they might find when no one else is around. But embracing solitude allows you to face your weaknesses and transform them into strengths. It gives you space to heal, to process, to grow without pressure. The greatest minds and leaders in history spent long periods alone because they understood that clarity and creativity are born in silence, not in chaos. When you start to enjoy your own company, you stop feeling lonely. You begin to appreciate the peace that comes with independence. You don't rely on others to make you happy because you realize happiness is an inside job. You begin to move differently, with confidence, with self-respect, with a quiet kind of power that doesn't need attention. You become emotionally self-sufficient, and that's what makes you unstoppable. Solitude builds discipline too. Without the noise of others influencing your path, you learn how to stay focused on your goals. You start listening to your own desires instead of following the crowd. You learn patience because progress in solitude takes time. You learn accountability because there's no one else to blame or depend on. And you learn gratitude because every victory you achieve alone feels earned, not given. Being independent doesn't mean you reject friendship or love. It means you don't depend on them to survive. You appreciate people's presence, but are not afraid of their absence. You can walk alone and still feel whole. That is real freedom, to be at peace, whether surrounded by others or completely alone. So embrace solitude. Don't run from it. Use it to build your character, to strengthen your mind, and to connect with your purpose. In the stillness of solitude, you will find courage you never knew you had, dreams you never dared to chase, and confidence that no one can take away. Because once you learn to stand alone, you will never again fear being alone. Solitude is not a weakness, it is the foundation of independence, self-respect, and unshakable inner power. True strength comes from self-reliance. It is not about how many people stand beside you, but about how firmly you can stand when no one else does. In a world that constantly tells you to seek approval, to fit in, to belong somewhere, there lies a deeper truth. You already belong to yourself. You don't need a crowd to validate your worth. You don't need a cheerleader to tell you that you can do it. You only need one thing: faith in your own strength. There will be moments when everyone you trusted seems to fade away, when the calls stop, when the friends disappear, when the world feels silent. It is in those moments that life tests what you're made of. Will you crumble or will you rise? Those who have built their strength on self-reliance do not break under the weight of loneliness. They understand that solitude is not an enemy. It's a forge. It's where character is refined and purpose is strengthened. Relying on yourself means taking full responsibility for your life, your choices, your failures, your success. It's easy to depend on others, to look for someone to fix your problems or to carry your pain. But true power begins when you stop waiting for help and start becoming your own solution. You realize that no one else can walk your path, no one else can fight your battles, and no one else can define your destiny. That burden and that blessing belongs to you alone. People often fear being alone because they associate it with weakness or rejection. But in truth, standing alone is one of the strongest things you can ever do. When you can wake up, face the world, and push forward without needing constant support or validation, you become unshakable. You no longer rely on temporary emotions or fleeting encouragement. You build your confidence on discipline, faith, and perseverance. Self-reliance doesn't mean cutting everyone off or rejecting friendship. It means building a foundation so solid that you are not destroyed by someone else's absence. Friends can motivate you, but they can't move for you. They can inspire you, but they can't build your dream. The road to greatness is often walked in silence, and only those who trust themselves enough to take that lonely path reach the heights they dream of. Every great person who has ever achieved something extraordinary learned to depend on their inner strength. They didn't wait for others to believe in them. They believed in themselves first. They didn't wait for the perfect conditions. They created them. They didn't depend on luck. They relied on discipline. That's what separates the average from the exceptional. When you rely on yourself, you stop being controlled by disappointment. You stop expecting others to fulfill your needs or fix your problems. You begin to trust your ability to rise, to rebuild, to restart no matter what life throws at you. And that kind of strength cannot be taken away. It is earned through pain, through perseverance, through the quiet moments where you had no one but yourself to lean on. So, build that kind of strength. Learn to be your own motivation. Learn to talk yourself out of fear and into action. Learn to celebrate your victories, even if no one else notices. Because when you learn to stand on your own, you become unstoppable. You stop waiting for permission to live your dreams and start taking the steps to make them real. True strength comes from self-reliance, from trusting that even in your weakest moments, you have everything within you to rise again. Believe in your power, in your purpose, and in your ability to overcome. Because the day you stop relying on others and start relying on yourself is the day you truly become free.